Hi, I'm Wild Bill. It's the 24th of May, 2025, and today I want to talk about On the Origins of Magic. My novels about magic, my fantastic fiction novels, they're based on one supposition that once upon a time, two men, Aaron and Moses, had a battle of magic with Pharaoh's wizards. I'm choosing those words carefully. Now, this is recorded in Scripture. If you look at the Old Testament, you will find this particular battle. And what they do in this battle is allegorical, though it may have been literal. It's allegorical in that it repeats all the phases of the Nile through the year. And in each case, the Pharaoh's wizards would show a phase of the Nile with their magic, and then Aaron and Moses, with the power of God, would then exceed that prodigy, showing that they had mastery of that phase of the Nile. In the end, the demonstration showed that God and his priests had greater mastery of the Nile and its mysteries than did Pharaoh's wizards. So that was an allegorical fight. You scholars may have a different spin on it. Go right ahead and dispense it. I'm going to dispense mine. So I began all my thinking about wizardry and magic not with Merlin the Wizard or any of these old stories. I began with the idea that there was once upon a time real magic. It's in the Bible. And now there isn't, because no one's using it, no one's doing it, no one can do it. So that means there was once upon a time real magic. And our Bible, the book we believe every word is the sacred truth of God, says so. And it's gone now. Well, what the hell? Well, there's no book handed down from God to man that says what happened to it. So I started to make it my point of departure to decide what happened to magic, or how I could build a system of magic in which there might have been magic then, but there wouldn't be magic today. In my earliest iterations, I had a series called, after my Hornock's Universe science fiction fantasy, I did a series called Sunset Warriors, wizards and warlocks and priests and great fighters and monsters and whatnot. Anyway, in this Sunset Warriors series, I had wizards, but there was a reason for wizardry, and there was a source of magic. This is something a lot of people don't get right, I think, in their writing. But maybe I'm the one that doesn't. We'll see. In it, I postulated that the solar system had been for some time within a molecular cloud. These are real things. They happen out there. And this particular one was exceedingly dense, and that also happens. That's how stars form. And in this case, it had a lot of molecular methane in it, which is possible. There's just that sort of thing out there. But the addition was that the form of methane that was in this cloud was attached to an extra binding energy called, well, which I call magic. And this binding energy, when these slightly unstable methane isotopes broke down, leaving just regular methane, they would release, in addition to the extra neutron, a particle called the Kell, a cascade of particles called Kells. And these Kells populated the standing magical field, which is one of the quantum fields. So there was a power source, this unusual form of methane that would release these Kells to populate a standing magical field. So there was X amount of these Kells, X amount of density, X amount of power represented in them. And a person that we would call a wizard would be able to tap into that by focusing his mind into a lens through which magic would pass and be focused to do work in the world, real physics. And like with physics, some of that energy that did work would be wasted as heat. And that heat, in my estimation, would build up in the wizard's brain. That limited the amount of magic a wizard could wield. That limited the effect that a wizard could have. He was basically heating his blood up to throw spells, and if he heated it up too much, well, he'd pop or die of a fever. 106 degrees, 3, 4 hours, maybe a day of it, and you're dead. So that gave me a reason to believe in magic. That gave me an idea that there might be magic and what to do with it if there was magic. And so this idea, which was my first, was populated by this dense molecular cloud that the Earth and the Sun had passed through some thousands of years ago. And for that, I could postulate that there was enough of this effect in the world through the methane in this molecular cloud, and there are reports from classical antiquity about very dark days and dark nights, and which could be we were inside a molecular cloud. Anyway, that during these times there would be magic, and a wizard could be. A person could learn to focus his or her brain in such a way as to bring magic through it from the standing magical field and do work in the real world, whether that work might be a fireball or mixing the components in this alchemical retort into a homunculus, something, just whatever your determination is. But in the case of classical antiquity, of course, it was Aaron and Moses recreating the prodigies of the Nile's year. Now, in this case, as the solar system passed through this cloud and out the other side, because they're not traveling exactly even with each other, they're going to gradually drift apart, that meant that there would be less magic as the solar system passed out of the densest part of the cloud into the less dense parts towards the fringe, towards the envelope, and then eventually would pass out from it, and there would be no longer magic in the world. So this was my first mechanism for how there could have been magic once, but there isn't magic now. Pretty good idea, huh? Just off the top of my head, this is how I worked it. So here's why I think it's fun. 2 weeks ago, NASA Space News reported a extremely dense, dark, unusual composition molecular cloud not too far away from the solar system. That it's possible that we might have passed through it. So golly darn, did I have a mechanism or what? Doesn't mean it was. And I have since moved on. I have different ideas as to the origins of magic now. But that was a pretty good first attempt. And to have science come out and say, hey, by the way, Bill, it's one of those things that it makes me feel good. It has no effect in the universe. But it sure made me feel good. So I thought that was worthy talking it through and explaining why I started writing all my fantasy novels and thinking about magic in the first place. Because once upon a time there was magic, and now there is not. And all my thinking has been to try to explain how that could be. Wild Bill, 24th of May, 2025.